In a quiet village surrounded by endless fields and a slow, shining river, there lived a boy named Rohan. His life was simple, almost predictable. Every morning, the rooster would crow before sunrise, and Rohan would wake up with sleepy eyes, step out into the cool air, and help his father in the fields. His hands were small, but they worked hard, pulling weeds, carrying water, and learning the rhythm of the soil. After that, he would rush to school, his worn-out bag bouncing against his back. The road was long and dusty, but he didn't mind. He enjoyed watching the world wake up, the shopkeepers opening their doors, the smell of fresh bread in the air, and children laughing as they walked together. Rohan wasn't the smartest boy in class, nor the strongest, nor the most confident. But he had something quiet inside him, a softness, a kindness that often went unnoticed. One afternoon, as the sun began to set and painted the sky in shades of gold and red, Rohan took a longer route home by the river. He liked the calm it brought him. The water flowed gently, as if it carried stories from distant places. That day, something caught his eye. Near the edge of the riverbank, half hidden in the sand, was a small wooden box. It looked old, its edges worn and its surface covered in faint carvings. Rohan looked around. There was no one nearby. The air felt still, almost like it was waiting. Slowly, he bent down and picked it up. For a moment, he hesitated. Then, with a deep breath, he opened it. Inside lay a small stone. At first, it didn't seem special, but then it began to glow softly, gently like a heartbeat made of light. Rohan's eyes widened. He touched it carefully, and to his surprise, it felt warm as if it were alive. His heart raced. He quickly closed the box, slipped it into his bag, and hurried home. That night, sleep did not come easily. The image of the glowing stone stayed in his mind. Finally, when the house was quiet and the world outside had gone still, he took the stone out again. The moment it touched his palm, the room filled with a faint golden light. Rohan froze. Then a voice, calm and gentle, echoed in his mind. "Do not be afraid." Rohan looked around, his breath unsteady. "Who are you?" he whispered. "I am not someone you can see," the voice replied. "I am something you can become." He didn't understand. "What do you mean?" "I am a gift," the voice said. "But not everyone can use me. Only those who choose kindness, even when it is difficult." Rohan sat silently, holding the stone. He didn't know why, but he felt a strange sense of trust. The next day, life continued as usual, but Rohan was different. On his way to school, he saw a boy from his class being teased by others. Normally, Rohan would walk past quietly. He didn't like getting involved, but this time he stopped. "Leave him alone," he said, his voice shaking slightly. The others laughed, but something in Rohan's eyes made them step back. They walked away, muttering. The boy looked at him, surprised. "Why did you help me?" he asked. Rohan shrugged. It felt right. That night, the stone glowed brighter. "You chose courage," the voice said. "Kindness is not always easy, but it is always powerful." Days turned into weeks. Rohan began to notice small moments where he could help, helping an old woman cross the road, sharing his lunch with a hungry child, listening to someone who felt alone. None of these acts were grand or heroic, but each one made the stone shine a little more. And with every glow, Rohan felt something change inside him. He felt stronger, not in body, but in heart. One evening, a storm arrived. It wasn't an ordinary storm. The sky turned dark too quickly, the wind howled like it was angry, and rain fell with a force that shook the earth. Trees bent dangerously, rooftops rattled, and people rushed in fear. Rohan stood at his doorway, watching his village struggle. A small hut nearby began to collapse. A child was still inside. Without thinking, Rohan ran. The wind pushed against him, the rain blinded him, but he didn't stop. He reached the hut and forced his way in. The child was crying in the corner. "It's okay," Rohan said, trying to stay calm. He picked the child up and carried him outside, just as part of the roof fell behind them. People shouted, calling for help, trying to save what they could. Rohan stood there, soaked and trembling, holding the glowing stone in his hand. "Please," he whispered, "help them." The stone responded. Its light grew stronger than ever before, brighter than lightning, warmer than fire. It spread through the air, touching every corner of the village. Slowly, the wind began to calm. The rain softened. The sky, once filled with rage, grew quiet. Within minutes, the storm passed. The villagers stood in silence, looking around in disbelief. They didn't understand what had happened, but they knew they were safe. Rohan looked at the stone. Its light was fading. That night, as he sat alone, the voice returned, soft but weaker. "You have done well," it said. "Will you stay?" Rohan asked. "No," the voice replied gently. "My purpose is complete." Rohan's chest tightened. "But I still need you." There was a pause. "No," the voice said, "you don't." The stone grew dimmer. "Everything you did, every choice you made, that was you. I only showed you what was already inside." The light disappeared completely. The stone became cold and ordinary. Rohan stared at it for a long time. Then slowly he smiled. The next morning, the village began to rebuild. People helped each other more than before. They spoke kindly, worked together, and shared what little they had. And in the middle of it all was Rohan. No glowing stone, no mysterious voice. Just a boy who had learned something important. Great power doesn't come from magic. It comes from the courage to care, even when no one is watching. And that kind of power never fades.